I can't be the only one who thinks Kimiko speaking in this season has been extremely insufferable. Despite being a character I've really come to enjoy throughout the entire series, season 5 has quite literally completely ruined her character just by letting her talk. And that's such a brutal thing to say because this should have been one of the easiest payoffs in the entire show. Instead, it somehow did the exact opposite and made her feel less like Kimiko. Don't get me wrong, I actually thought her gaining the ability to speak by the end of season 4 was pretty cool and honestly earned, but nothing could have prepared me for her dialogue in season 5. Now to start, let's just take a brief look at how she speaks. Despite the fact that she's from a foreign country, had never spoken a word in English before, and let alone spoken whatsoever in the entirety of the show, she's somehow capable of not only perfectly pronouncing words in English, but furthermore, has the classic American accent down to a T. Maybe I'm reaching, bro, but I can't be the only one who felt like it was extremely out of place. And what makes it even weirder is that when a show makes you wait this long for a character to finally speak, every little detail of that voice suddenly matters. When she started talking, it felt like I was simply watching the actual English-speaking actor behind the character instead of Kimiko herself. And honestly, that's the best way to explain it. The illusion completely breaks and you stop watching Kimiko and start noticing the performance in a way you never used to before. I mean, you'd expect her to at least have some trace of an accent from her country of origin, but no. It's like Kimiko has been raised and taught English her entire life, and that completely takes all the realism out of it. Imagine how much more believable this would have been if her first real conversations actually felt limited or uncomfortable. Imagine if she had to search for words or only speak when it truly mattered. That would have made every sentence feel like a real event. Instead, it feels like the show just pressed unmute on her and called it character development, and don't worry, that's not even the worst part. The exact words and sentences she says are arguably more painful than hearing screeching on a chalkboard. For some reason, Kimiko can speak perfect English, but can't formulate or filter herself whatsoever with the shit she says to Annie and other characters. Not only that, her dialogue is extremely corny and you can tell they are trying to make her have this sort of dark, edgy humor, but it fails terribly. And that's where the whole thing really dies down for me because Kimiko never needed to become some machine for random edgy one-liners. Her entire appeal was that she could walk into a scene, barely do anything, and still be one of the most memorable parts of it. A small look from her used to land harder than a full speech from most characters. So when the writer suddenly tried to force this new humor into her mouth, it doesn't feel like growth. Put simply, it feels like they misunderstood what people liked about her in the first place. I can't recall one time I've laughed at one of her sentences in this season so far, and I know I'm not the only person who thinks that. And the reason it sticks out so badly is because the lines don't just fail to be funny, they actively change the vibe of scenes that should have stayed grounded. There are moments where the show should feel tense, and instead the second Kimiko speaks, it low-key feels like the scene gets hit with a Disney filter for 5 seconds. Not fully, but just enough where you feel the tone soften in the worst possible way.
Suck my fat.
Throughout the internet, I've seen countless people also express this similar opinion towards her character in season 5. And hell, even Butcher feels the same way.
You can say is oi oi oi.
Liked her better with her mouth shut.
I've also heard other people perfectly describing what she sounds like in this season, saying it's almost as if she's being dubbed despite it literally just being the actress speaking and everything. And this brings me to my next point. I'm not blaming the actress whatsoever for this. In all other seasons of The Boys, I think she's done a very good job at portraying the character and fully developing her without saying a single word, which is exactly why this is so frustrating, because there was already a very strong understanding of who Kimiko was. She didn't need to be fixed by turning into this awkward source of edgy dialogue, and what I really think it comes down to is just poor writing. I can quite literally tell as if the actor was trying her absolute best to act like Kimiko whilst being handed the worst lines in the series. You can genuinely feel her trying to make some of these sentences work, and there's only so much anybody can do when the writing itself feels this unnatural, which is really weird because for the most part, all other characters have been pretty up to par with how they've been in the rest of the series, which is why Kimiko having this bad dialogue stands out so much. If everybody in the show suddenly sounded this off, then maybe you could blame the whole season's tone and move on. But because most characters still more or less sound like themselves, Kimiko ends up sticking out like a sore thumb every single time she opens her mouth. Hell, there's even a Reddit thread with over 14,000 upvotes supporting a similar claim. Kimiko's dialogue is nauseating. I don't care if that's the point, she learned how to converse through TikTok, it's still unbearable. Just because something makes sense narratively doesn't make it immune to criticism. I mean, mean, yeah, I couldn't have put it better myself. To say she just learned how to speak perfect English from TikTok is completely delusional and super cringe. Because even if I grant that explanation for 1 second, that still doesn't make the end result fun to watch. It's like the show doesn't know who to appeal to anymore. They know the majority of their watchers are most likely people who are on TikTok quite a lot, but the dialogue they give her is almost like they are trying to relate to people in their 60s who have heard of social media platforms Gen Z viewers use, such as TikTok. That's what makes it feel so fake. It feels internet adjacent without feeling natural, current, or sharp. It feels like somebody trying to imitate what they think online humor sounds like instead of just writing people like actual humans. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this show doesn't have a wide variety of watchers in terms of age, since anyone can enjoy it, but they're shifting too much in terms of appealing to different age gaps, which just tends to throw the show off a little at times. And in a way, giving her a voice sort of made her lose her special touch. Kimiko was always this unique character because of the fact that she could be so damn entertaining without saying a single word. It made her more unpredictable and separated her from the rest of the boys. Now, she doesn't only speak, but also does so horribly, which completely ruins everything about her character.
Oh, wow. Your skin is so oily, like hugging a McRib.
Oh, okay.
And the craziest part is that it doesn't even make her feel more human. It's obvious the writers want to make her character have this different shock value by saying random stuff out loud to characters like Homelander, but for some reason it just doesn't stick. It feels forced, which right then and there makes it extremely unfunny. And it also starts messing with her chemistry with everybody else. Her dynamic with Frenchie used to have this really specific softness to it. Like there was this type of understanding that didn't need to be over-explained. Now when Kimiko talks like this, some of this magic disappears. Not because she speaks at all, but because the actual lines are so corny that they replace emotional tension with secondhand embarrassment. The same thing happens in other scenes too. Once one character starts sounding artificial, everyone around them has to react to that artificial line, and suddenly the whole rhythm feels off. That's why this issue ends up feeling bigger than just Kimiko has bad dialogue. In reality, it starts slightly warping the chemistry of scenes around her. And I do think very briefly this ties into a larger season 5 writing issue where once in a while certain lines just feel a little too aware of themselves. Even in episode 1 there were moments where Homelander's dialogue felt odd to me. Not enough to wreck the character, but enough where I noticed it. The difference is Homelander is such a locked in character that he can survive a weird line here and there. Kimiko can't. Hearing her speak is already such a massive shift that the margin for error is way smaller. And for a character who spent years proving she never needed words to be compelling, the fact that giving her a voice ended up hurting this much is honestly insane. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. For exclusive videos, guaranteed replies, and your name featured at the end of every upload, you can become a channel member for just $2.99. And if you want to keep discussing shows, go ahead and join the Discord below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.